how we made a video game and published it on Steam by Stargazer Studio. So have you ever wondered how video games are made, or do you want to create one? If the answer is yes, we hope you find this video useful. So the story of how we created a video game begins with me, Philip, a young computer science student who was trying to figure out how video games are made. So I was 21 at the time and I just recently started coding. On the other hand, visual design is something I was focused and interested in during high school, but I was never really serious about it. So I wanted to create a video game. How hard can it be? I went on YouTube and searched how to create a video game. Bear in mind, this was around 2014, so not a lot of content on that topic was on YouTube back then. But I stumbled across an awesome video series done by Rachel Sink and how she created a game called Pick and Sticks. So it was a very simple top-down 2D video game where the player collected the items as they reappeared in the game world. But she actually made a game using technology I wasn't able to understand, so I couldn't replicate it. But I learned that video games are made out of code, imagery, graphics, music, storytelling, visual design, all that good stuff. So basically a lot of different creative mediums. I wanted to create my own Pick and Sticks, and after searching a bit around the web, I found a JavaScript-based Pick and Sticks GitHub repository. And since I had a little bit of JavaScript experience, I forked the repository and started customizing it, and it resulted in the first game I ever made. I shared it with my friends and they all loved it. So it didn't take much time for me to realize people are using more advanced tools to create video games, and that's when I stumbled across Unity game engine. So after downloading it and finding awesome tutorials by Jesse Freeman for Unity, I was able to produce 2 new games. The first one called Leap of Faith and the second one called Stom Gramova. It's a funny phrase in Serbian language, but the game itself was about Serbian president. After sharing the games I've made with my friends on Facebook, a friend from college who I only knew as a guy that was always there when we drank beer, he approached me and told me that we should make games together. His name is Jan. So during that time there was a new brand of beer in Serbia called Zajčarsko pivo, Zajčarsko beer, and both of us were huge fans, so we had a lot to talk about and eventually we became very good friends. So it turns out Jan is a prodigy coder who's been coding from an early age. He downloaded one of Jesse Freeman courses and got familiar with Unity environment. So there we were ready to make our first game. Our first game prototype was called Ricochet Project. We created a prototype based on a very simple idea. We would have a player shoot balls that would bounce off walls. But that's when we realized we are nowhere near finishing a game. We had no idea about the dynamics, mechanics, aesthetics. We knew nothing about how to create a level, what is going to be the goal of our game, and everything that you need in order to create a game. We decided to learn more about game development, and in another course by Jesse Freeman, we realized he's actually teaching us how to create a level map editor, and that is exactly what we needed. So using that level map editor, we created a very simple prototype inspired by the games like World's Hardest Game, VVVVV, Ultraflow, and a few of the other games we've played. That's when Jan created an awesome script that would allow us to move the enemy sprites across the game world, and we actually had 2 pieces that we needed to create a game, a level map editor and a movement for our enemies. We also had a mechanic on how our player is going to move inspired by old Pokemon games. During that time, few of our friends helped us with some other material like animations, graphics, logos, splash screens, and all that awesome stuff. So we started making levels. We also created a Facebook page and came up with a name for our company and for our game. Our game was to be called Trial and Terror, and it's a play on words on trial and error, which is a common concept in problem solving and actually game design. The concept is all about solving problems by fail attempts. And our company was to be called Stargazer Studio, inspired by a song Stargazer from our favorite band at the time, Rainbow, and their album Rainbow Rising, who we were listening on repeat while we were working on our college projects and while we were creating the game. So we were sharing the gameplay of our game on Facebook inside of Indie Game Developers Group and Game Developers Serbia. Serbia is the country where we are from. And it didn't take a lot of time for Serbian game development community to notice what we were doing. And we were actually invited at a local Indie Game Expo organized at Yugoslav Film Architecture Museum in Belgrade, organized by Madhead Games, a Serbian game developer. So we've set up a landing page and an early build of our game and went to Belgrade to showcase our game at an Indie Expo. It was a nice experience. Players liked our game and we got around 50 emails from players. We actually asked for these emails. We wanted to build an emailing list so that we would notify our players when our game was released. A few months later, we had a beta build of our game up and running on itch.io and Newsgrounds. A few days after uploading our game to itch.io, we were contacted by Armor Games, And Armor Games is a very famous mini-game web-based website, and we actually played a lot of games on there during high school and college as well. Armor Games approached us and offered us $200 in order for us to release our game on their website. It was a non-exclusive license, meaning that we would still have all the rights for our game and be able to publish it wherever we want, but we can publish it on Armor Games as well. $200 for something we made out of absolutely nothing sounded awesome to us. We accepted the deal. We would later use that money to purchase web hosting and create a website for our game, and paid the Steam submission fee as well. The early build of our game was available on both Newsgrounds and Armor Games, and we got a lot of feedback. Comments were awesome, and people generally liked our game. It scored around 7 out of 10 on all of these platforms. But we wanted our game on Steam, the biggest gaming platform in the world. We decided to take all the feedback we received from Armor Games and Newsgrounds and just create a better game and publish it on Steam. We made more levels, reworked the old ones, changed the visuals of the game, added some special effects, optimized the game's performance, and created a leaderboard so players can compete with each other. We also reworked the user interface, got a new splash screen, and all that good stuff. So in the meantime, both Jan and I had to register our own businesses. He was working as a software engineer and me as a web designer. And it turned out it's exactly what we needed, because in order to publish a game on Steam, you need a business registered because all of the tax laws. So we worked really hard on our game and started making some really drastic changes. And we got into the Steam submission process. We paid the fee. We got into the Steamworks backend. Like a gazillion of formulas and everything. It was a pain in the ass to do all the stuff, but yeah, we figured it out. So after getting into Steamworks, we had to finish two things. Finish our game's store page and finish the build for our game and get it ready for Steam release. It took us a month or two or some more to get everything ready for Steam release, and we were finally ready to set up a release date. In the time of making of this video, our game is not yet released, but it is in coming soon mode. We wanted our game to be in the coming soon mode for at least a month so that we can do all the marketing things like share our games on all social media and get as many people as possible who are interested in playing our game to wishlist it on Steam in order to get notified once the game is released. And the release date we decided for is November 20th, 2019. And yeah, that's it. It's the story of how two guys met at college, and with all the help from our friends and some real serious dedication, we created a game and published it on Steam. We hope that all of you young game developers who want to start making games get inspired by this story, and for all you guys that are already creating games, to inspire you to continue creating games. And yeah, most of the times we thought our game was bad, but our friends kept telling us they really enjoy playing it. So we're not sure why, but yeah, we just kept on doing it. And the last thing I want to say is that if you like retro puzzles, wishlist our game on Steam, and we'll see you in another video. Bye bye!